Welcome, everyone, and thank you so much for joining in today. And thank you for joining in every week. The channel has seen some crazy growth, more than 150% just in 1 month. So please do continue to like, subscribe, and share everything that we do here at Clever Finance. And do also suggest topics on Clever Insight videos, and of course, future guests for Clever Live. So let's jump right into today's guest. We have a very distinguished and special guest today, namely the CEO and co founder of one of our closest partners, Simplex. Nimrod Lehavi is a serial entrepreneur and investor, a hacker, a maker, a geek, a crypto head, and clearly unfamiliar with the concept of impossible, just like here at Clever. Bitcoin, Simplex was actually founded in 2013 after Lehavi discovered that he was unable to buy Bitcoin with his credit card as the clearing system wasn't able to identify the small village of Ein Vered where he lives. Simplex today simplifies the buying and selling process of digital currencies, which I'm sure hundreds and even thousands of you all around the world have experienced through Clever. Um, in the past, it usually took more than 3 days and required a lot of banking and other bureaucratic approvals, but by simplifying the process, Simplex has actually become the de facto um, industry standard in enabling fraud-free on-ramps and off-ramps to the crypto ecosystem until its recent acquisition by Nue this early this summer in 2021 for the round number of $250 million. Nimrod is one of the crypto industry's true OGs and is a thought leader and regular speaker at leading blockchain conferences worldwide. And Simplex has become one of the closest strategic partners of Clever in recent years. We're very grateful to have him. Nimrod, welcome to the show.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me. And thanks
What a
for the warm
pleasure.
words.
Well, it's a real pleasure to have you and that beautiful little unicorn above you. We're on our way. We're not really there by unicorn standard, but congratulations also on the acquisition.
Thank you very much.
So let's jump right into it. We're going live on YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn, Twitch, D Live, and literally every other metaverse platform out there. And we'll touch upon metaverse if we get there, if we do have time. But please do tell us a little bit more about your own background, where you come from, and what inspired you to create Simplex.
All right. So I started my way in software development in the previous millennia. 97, it was a great time, even just to claim you're able to write code. Started in, the website development at the time. At the time, it was kind of still complicated. Later on, opened a software company, basically just doing that just in larger scale, and something like 20 employees, and been working on projects with banks, with telcos, with the Israeli military, with mostly with startups, doing a lot of prototyping, a lot of payments. And bumped into Bitcoin, I think the first time when it was around like $8. Was really interested, read the white paper, and really loved it. I think that at the end of the day, most of the people who joined around these years did it because it was interesting. It looked like potentially, at least, an alternative financial system, ones which is faster, more transparent, less problematic. And again, it was almost impossible to buy Bitcoin at the time. I never got into mining, unfortunately, in retrospect, but never really got into that. I really wanted to buy some, had to wire money to someone I don't know, so that didn't happen. So I bought at the end, like, I think around $40, something like that. And everybody was talking about it, like how difficult it is to get in, and it always was considered like the holy grail of enabling purchases with credit cards, just like you can buy everything else, right? And the big issue with credit cards is naturally fraud prevention. There's a great history in Israel with regards to that field. So I snatched my two co-founders from PayPal, and we started working on what later became Simplex in 2013. We officially founded the company in 2014. We raised some money and we started processing. Um, First month was December 14. We processed like $50,000. We were thrilled. Um, Now we do slightly more than that, I would say. We do a few billions a year in volume these days. And yeah, we've been acquired, as you mentioned, by Nuvei. It's pronounced Nuvei, Canadian
Nuvei.
company. Yeah, Canadian company, also listed in Nasdaq a couple of weeks ago. $20 billion market cap, huge payment company, which we're super thrilled about. I think I'm super excited about it because of a few angles. First of all, the fact that the crypto guys have infiltrated the fiat system completely. I think
Took a few years.
took definitely a few years, but it's very exciting, and the fact that Nuvei understands in a strategic manner of speaking the fact that crypto is going to take over payments. It's a strategic choice by them to not only look or participate but lead such a thing. And now we're in a position where we can do all the things that we wanted all the time, but as a startup it's much more difficult. Expanding all of our services globally, including the card issuing, including the banking support, including everything. um, Doing more of everything that we wanted to do. So yeah, I think that's kind of the brief history of myself and the company.
Fantastic. Well, I mean, being able to get into Bitcoin that early, I remember also hearing a crazy story from 2013, where it's kind of your Bitcoin pizza story, if you want to share it.
Yeah, it's always something that we the points which is always when people are talking about pay with crypto. So that's my story. Like since 2013, I didn't pay with crypto. I bought a burger and a White Russian for half a Bitcoin. It was a good burger, but not that good. But I think at the end of the day, most people that are enough time in crypto, have these stories. Like I sold an insane amount of ETH for $1 each because it was going nowhere. Uh,
What time? For a dollar each?
yeah, when it was
Oh,
when it was $1, it was
when it
that
was
was
done, that was a
yeah,
while ago.
yeah, that was a while. So because it was going nowhere, like it didn't move for months.
But then again, the huddling aspect, and I think Dan Held, hilarious name for someone who's so good at articulating the art of huddling, and the art of anything in crypto. He's fantastic, in my opinion, Dan Held. But he articulates very well the difficulty of holding onto Bitcoin in his case for so many years, right?
So
And
actually,
and
for
the
Bitcoin,
same applies to so many other assets.
so it's not the same for me at least. Bitcoin is very different, and for me at least, again, very emotionally and very silly in a way because I don't mind trading anything except Bitcoin. Like Bitcoin, I just can't trade. Like it's just upsets me so much when if I've made a loss on Bitcoin, it's just like it's not worth it. Everything else is fine, like trading. And again, at the time with Ethereum, it was it was Bitcoin and this new kind of thing that everybody were playing with, but like nobody at the time, nobody thought it's going to be like today. Like we have, I don't know, 10,000 existing cryptocurrencies right now, new ones flying every week. So nobody really expected it to go to that high number, I think. And Ethereum was kind of an experiment, and I said, yeah, fuck this experiment. I'll stick with Bitcoin. Not necessarily a smart choice.
Perhaps
Right.
retrospectively, but it's we've all sold something at the bottom. I'm sure also
Everything there. So
bought
like
at the top,
everything I sold, I should have held. So these days,
except for
actually,
Bitcoin.
Yeah, I did sell a bit, and in the early days, I was just pushing it to everyone who would accept it. Like I was just trying to convince everyone, like, yeah, buy a Bitcoin. It's like only $100. Buy one. What have you got to
Just do
lose?
it.
Yeah, literally, like aggressively pushing it to people when I should have kept them all.
I understand you. I'm at a very similar place where I see Bitcoin as this definitely holy grail that keeps everything in the entire crypto ecosystem together and powers it all. And if you don't understand Bitcoin, and if you're new to crypto, if you don't understand truly the fundamentals of what goes into Bitcoin technicalities and why it was created and what purpose it serves, it's very hard to continue on that journey, in my opinion. So I think a
I'm
recommendation
not
is
sure.
start with Bitcoin and understand, and then move into the
I'm not
altcoin
sure.
market.
I'm not sure that understanding is like understanding the fundamentals is actually that meaningful. I think, I think it's better to understand whatever system that you participate in. But, most of the people don't understand the banking system as well, and they're participating, right? Um,
The dying breed, anyways.
I think it's going to take a long time before it will be
I
really done.
didn't say we would be doing it tomorrow. I'm just saying it's a
Yeah.
process, right? It's a slow death,
It's a,
and
it's a process. It's very slow. I don't think it's going to be in our lifetimes. No banks.
and at the same time, we're also seeing a lot more movements from American banks and other banking institutions accepting Bitcoin, accepting crypto, accepting ETH.
Yeah.
How do you see that in your industry, especially from that payment processing aspect?
I think that when we started the company, it was impossible to find a company that would process the payments. It was extremely difficult, extremely expensive. None of the large companies would touch it, with a 6 foot pole. And now it's almost commoditized. Everybody's doing it. Stripe just rehired a new blockchain team after they did kind of start doing something in crypto like I don't know 4 years ago, and shut it down. So now they're getting back into the game. But all of the large processing companies are processing it easily. Visa and Mastercard have public accounts of executives discussing crypto constantly. It's on their mind. They have PRs of their own activities in crypto, like Mastercard had something, Visa had something. It's a completely different landscape. I think it's very clear to everyone that it's coming, that it's happening. Again, might take a bit longer. When I started my way in the ecosystem, I told everyone, yeah, like 5 to 10 years max. It's like mainstream. I think it's still going to take like
Bitcoin standard. That's it.
I
It's going to
did I
be
did think
reserve currency for every nation.
I didn't know if it was supposed to be like a reserve currency, but I was very clear the fact that everybody's going to use it. And listen, we barely started. It's like 200 million users. It's nothing. Angry Birds had 200 million users, I think, after like 3 days. We're barely touching the $2.5 trillion. Needs to be in the hundreds of trillions of dollars to when it's fully mainstream. So that's, by the way, that's why I think still on ramps are still a very meaningful growth market, or part of the market. These hundreds of trillions of dollars need to come from somewhere, and they need help in getting in. So we're still very much in the process of enabling it to everyone.
And enabling from Simplex's side, and especially how we've worked together from Clever and Simplex partnership has been really one of the most flourishing ones that we've ever engaged with, and we're very grateful for everything we've done together, and especially creating this extremely seamless in-app user experience that you are in Clever and moving inside of the Simplex world, but our teams work so closely together behind the scenes that is literally the same experience. How has it been from your side working with Clever and enabling that technical solution?
You're definitely super nice guys. I think that we always try to achieve this smooth experience, and definitely one of the slickest integrations is with you. As you can imagine, I have like 40 wallets installed on my phone, because I always like to try and see how the integration was going in the application. I think we still, we still need to improve. We still need to make it even smoother, easier, easier for people everywhere to use. Basically what we're trying to do: enable everyone to buy any asset anywhere. There's still, we're still in the beginning of this way as well.
100%. 100%. Yeah, we offer today, I think, 12 different assets just in Klever, and I believe Simplex around the world, 70 different cryptocurrencies or more.
Over 100 actually.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
And it comes into a very interesting point also because you're talking about retail and institution, right? Simplex and what you do and this kind of standard for the fiat on ramp and the credit card purchases, debit card purchases, Apple Pay also being able to use now in Clever. And soon we'll talk about the next step for retail. But how do you enable and how do you see essentially the fever and demand from retail compared to institutions from your side into crypto? You're just talking about 200 million users. Okay, we're still about 7.5 billion left to
Yeah.
onboard.
So we're more catering the retail side of the business. We don't really handle institutionals yet. We might start to support that a bit more through our banking service. Um, so I don't really know how to compare between the two. I think that, as always in crypto, it's like there are always these waves, ups and downs in interest, in volume, usually very boringly correlated to price. Um, but I think that this time it's slightly different. Like I was sure it's subsided, the rushes subsided in September, but then it just like got ignited again and started going like crazy immediately, basically without leaving any room for breath of fresh air. But now, now it's going through the motion, like it's Bitcoin, then it's ETH, now it's going to be large caps, and then it's going to be out season, all fun and games. And I hope it's not going to go to a dark winter afterwards.
No, I personally don't think that we're at a we've come so far inside, I think, of the crypto ecosystem, and it's developed so much in terms of not just retail interest, but also institutional interest. I think that it's a little bit more of a steady state. Doesn't mean that we're not going to see a crypto winter at any point, and definitely will be bull and bear markets. But regarding what some people think the super cycle, let's talk a little bit about price and what's happening with Bitcoin and the crypto market in general. What do you see personally? Are we in a super cycle? Will this continue? And in that case, how far?
These are all big questions which I have no idea, and I'm not, I'm not going to put my neck out and come with predictions that are bound to fail. I not trading
No one
advice.
will hold you
No, no,
accountable, I
no, not
promise you.
trading advice as well. It's like it's always these cycles where Bitcoin goes up and then ETH goes up and then large caps and then alt season. I just but then again, it can always go a bit differently, and the waves can mix and can reverse. So basically, it's another way of saying that nobody really knows. At the end of the day, nobody really knows. Whoever knows is
Indeed.
trading. He's trading, and he's not telling anyone how he's trading. Um, but I think like right now, it's almost impossible to make a mistake. Like everything is just running like crazy. I don't see it stopping immediately, even though it seems sometimes like it's not. Everybody has left caution someplace else. But it seems, like it's fitting itself. And again, it couldn't be sustainable forever, but it could continue for a long while. I mean, if the internal, the external interest is continuing to push the internal, like the amount of money available in the ecosystem, and the total ecosystem continues to grow, it can continue. It's not a zero sum game because the ecosystem is genuinely growing. Actual money is streaming in. So where it's going, I have no idea. I mean, we still have all the weirdness of crypto, with squid token,
Oh
and
my
with
God.
and with NFT sold for $500 million through the flash loan. all the regular fun things and cream being hacked. So everything is just the same, just with higher volumes.
And speaking of Cream being hacked and other DeFi protocols, I know that you're a huge fan of DeFi. What do you see distinguishing the current DeFi landscape from that DeFi summer of 2020? And how much has it evolved? And what do you see the future of DeFi?
I think it evolved a lot. I think that like 2 years ago, it was more of an experimental phase. Almost, I don't know, like 50% of the projects rug pulled. Like maybe not 50%, but a lot of them. They were clearly experiments. I think that now DeFi projects are trying to come up with, excuse me, with genuinely new models, new ideas, and launch something which is sustainable. Again, if you put aside the squid and other crappy things. But I think that projects have more merit now than they used to. Back then, it was all about like, yeah, let's bomb the APY with the tokens, see how much value can be locked in the first 24 hours, and then we'll check what's up. And now it's like they don't mind growing slower and steady and bring the actual value and create an actual interesting model and see how it goes if it actually brings value.
Well, slow and steady wins the race. It's not a 100-meter sprint. We see it as a marathon, and that's what we're
Yeah.
doing
Yeah.
here at Clever. Because
And again, I'm not even trashing the experiments. They were great. I love them. They were super interesting, and it's also, I think, also the matter. If we're talking about ethics, I don't really mind because in order for you to be able to lose money in DeFi, you need to understand quite a lot. Just being able to lose money in DeFi means that you understand quite a lot of the processes here, and it's on you. Like if you manage to fuck up and be rug pull, it's really difficult to get in. Like you need to make like I don't know 12 different actions just to get into a DeFi project. So I'm fine with that. If you manage to do all that and lose money, it's fair game. I lost money like as well on many projects.
But that's an interesting viewpoint to see it as experiments, because that's really truly what it is. And I
Yeah.
think a lot of Bitcoin maxis, that's maximalist for people who are not aware, are interestingly enough, I see a little bit of a turn lately where they see all projects on Ethereum, Tron, Solana, BSC, and so on as experiments for a future Bitcoin integration. And I don't really understand how they truly, their argument for thinking that you can build DeFi on Bitcoin. But do you think it's possible?
Uh, I don't know. Technically speaking or conceptually?
Yes, technically speaking.
I think you can do it. You can force it on top of Lightning Network. And I don't know. I guess I don't see the point in it though. I always viewed, I would say I'm 90% Bitcoin, in my portfolio. But so I'm huge on Bitcoin as and very emotionally attached to Bitcoin. But I also have like another, I don't know, probably another 100 types of tokens, and I think that each and every one of them have like their own story and the reasoning. And I do believe in the future of a multi-currency future where you have a different currency for every purpose or a different ecosystem. They can all work together happily through Bitcoin as the core asset. Um, I think some of the maximalists are just they're slightly stubborn because I don't really understand
Slightly.
how some of them are just trolls because they enjoy it. I mean, you need to make the distinction. Some of them enjoy trolling people. They don't really care. They just enjoy the provocation.
The toxicity.
Yeah, I think crypto Twitter to a certain extent at least enjoys the toxicity itself. It's a cesspool. just,
Yes,
just
it is.
just like Reddit. I stopped using Reddit completely like in 2013 because people were just too annoying.
Twitter
Um,
is king, period.
Uber is easier, yeah, it's less frictionless. Forgot where I was.
We were talking about Bitcoin maximalists
Ah, yeah.
and building
Yes.
DeFi on top of Bitcoin.
So I don't really see the point. I mean, Bitcoin, you can participate in DeFi as much as you want with wrapped BTC.
True.
So that's good
And a lot
enough.
of people do.
Yeah, a hell of a lot. I think that was the spark that ignited DeFi summer actually.
True. I
Because-
saw there was a huge increase in wrapped BTC, correct?
Exactly, because all of a sudden, all the money that was locked in Bitcoin, all of a sudden was able to be, to participate in this new fun game without being sold.
Hmm.
So I think it's super interesting, the dynamics of it. So to your question, it could happen. I don't think it should happen.
I agree with you. I don't think that there's a need for it. Bitcoin security is made, in my opinion, for a monetary network store of value and even payment channel in the future through Lightning and other layer twos. But I just don't see any reason to build DeFi on top of Bitcoin. But I appreciate your answer. It's very insightful. And I do want to get a little bit to on the global market for Simplex.
Mhm.
You guys are massive today and truly industry leading in terms of credit card purchases and on ramp inside of crypto. Where does your market participants mainly come from, and how does it look geographically?
Very global, actually. I mean, we've been serving globally from day one. Like in the early days, we had a map of the world, and we used to stick pins, but at the end there was no land mass left, so we just threw it away. But literally everywhere where it's legal, we're still, mostly credit card in our activity. So countries where there's low penetration on credit cards, much less. That's one of the reasons that we're adding now through the integration with Nuvei, who bought us. They support currently, I think, about 500 payment methods globally. So we'll be able to integrate many of these payment methods. Not all of them support crypto activity, but whoever does will be integrated. So hopefully soon enough we'll be able to brag about supporting hundreds of payment methods locally, so people will have better access. In some countries, uh, credit cards just don't work properly.
100%. And guys, if you have questions for Nimrod, please drop them, whether you're on YouTube or Twitter, LinkedIn or Twitch or any other platform, Facebook. Just drop them in the comments, and our backstage team will make sure to gather them. And in the end of the interview, we'll get to them. Let's touch upon a little bit, which is a bit of an announcement actually. We are going live together with something that is a banking solution, meaning that today our clients and our users and your clients and your users can purchase using credit card, debit card, Apple Pay. I think also Google Pay, correct?
Not sure yet.
Or
If not, then
not
it
yet. It's probably a future integration, and you
yeah.
guys take the whole market. But from very soon, I believe it's even imminent. You are enabling a banking transaction, meaning that you can literally just wire from your bank account and directly buy crypto. Can you tell us more about this integration for Simplex and also for Clever?
So it's something that we've been working on for quite some time. The biggest barrier was to actually being able to join the Swift network itself. Again, crypto being crypto, everything is much more problematic. We always, since the beginning of our journey, we made it a point to be completely transparent with banking partners, payment processors, everyone, regulators, completely transparent about the nature of the activity. So yeah, it's definitely taken us a long while, but now we're able to. SEPA is already supported, so transactions within Europe are already supported, I think, and Swift is being added very shortly. So basically, you'll be able to complete a purchase using your bank account from pretty much anywhere in the world.
Very impressive. Yeah, I do know that there's a lot of users who've been calling for this because they don't really like to use their credit cards. They don't like to get out their sensitive details online. and instead being able to do a bank transfer, it's great. Is there any limit for in terms of
There are, but they're
max?
very high. There are limits, but they're very, very high. Don't remember exactly, but I think it's in the hundreds of thousands.
So that's pretty solid limit. I think we have a lot of whales, and I'm sure a lot of people will appreciate this new feature when it goes live
Yeah,
in Clever.
for sure.
We'll come out with an announcement, guys, but it's a very very exciting new feature, not just for our ecosystem, but also for the entire crypto ecosystem that you're enabling. So that's kudos and mazal tov from our side. And
Thank you.
let's talk a little bit about the challenges in payment channels and payment processing. For those who have really no idea what's going on once they do make a purchase, what challenges are you overcoming and have you overcome over the years?
So in the beginning, it was super difficult to even just complete a transaction itself. So when you're providing the credit card details, there's an acquiring bank, or even beforehand, usually a PSP, payment service provider, who in turn sends the details to an acquiring bank. The acquiring bank is doing the settlement with the networks like Visa, Mastercard, Amex, with the issuing bank who issued the card for you. So it's a long chain of events. Also need to appreciate the complexity and the scale of this system, which is, for a lack of a better word, a ship system. Basically, it was invented in the 50s. Wasn't really meant for use online. Kind of squeezed to be used online for ginormous amounts of money every day. And they were completely reluctant to work with anything to do with crypto in the beginning. Um, now, as said, it's much simpler. You can process crypto payments with, I'd say, most of the large acquirers, but also, many of the challenges revolving around that are an issue that, again, credit cards weren't really meant for usage online. So let's say I have your card, I can make a purchase and say it's you, and then you find out, you charge back the transaction. You call Visa, Mastercard, whatever. You say, "Hey, it wasn't me." You get paid, and then you have both Bitcoin and the money. So this is the core issue, the raison d'être of Simplex. Like, this is the one thing that we came to solve, and when we provide a service, it's with 100% zero chargeback guarantee. So if you are selling crypto to a user as Clever, you're never exposed to chargebacks. If there was a chargeback, if something went wrong and the user is complaining about the chargeback, you're still getting the money from us. Um,
Yeah, how
and I,
was this solved? Through proprietary tech, your own
yeah,
technology, or how did you solve this?
so we've
The
built,
fraud
again,
system.
my two co-founders are out of PayPal. They worked on similar strategies and systems in PayPal. And this one is very much tailor made to the crypto ecosystem and to the crypto as a product. But yeah, it's, at the end of the day, it's a machine learning system. We're collecting thousands of small attributes per transaction in real time on every user, understanding if it's going to end up in a chargeback or not. And we are hardly ever mistaken. Uh, so we've developed a real expertise in this, which is later going to be very useful when we are talking about additional payment methods, which also have some security issues like chargebacks, currently not handled, but will be handled as well.
Great, fantastic. I originally come from political economy. As a political economist, entered blockchain for primarily political reasons, less so financial. Those were simply a good result. But regulation is something that I'm personally very passionate about, and I think it's extremely important for our industry to grow. As a payment processor, how do you approach regulators, and how do you interact with regulators, and what do you see as the future of crypto regulation?
So, as I mentioned before, we always were very, very transparent with the regulators. We're licensed in Europe, what we the way we explained it at the end of the day was that as Simplex does KYC to every client, and as the fact that Simplex guarantees every transactions that the user is making means that if there was a false transaction, let's say a false KYC, we are getting penalized, right? Because we need to still pay the merchant. So that makes Simplex the single financial institution in the world that is being penalized immediately financially for every wrong KYC, right? Because if the bank didn't KYC you properly, you wouldn't open a bank account, or they can return the money, but there's no actual loss unless they get a fine. But we are, as an organization, being fined immediately by the business model itself. So they really loved it, and and we got the European license like that. Uh, I think that going forward, I think it's a complex issue for the regulators as well. I don't think that all of them are necessarily opposed to crypto. I think it's just a very different animal for them. They're trying to put every action in an existing bucket and say, yeah, this is a
Hmm.
currency, yeah, this is a stock, this is an asset, and it's just it behaves differently.
I'm still baffled by the fact that the Howey test from 1930 is how the SEC in the United States,
Still try to, yeah,
decides whether XRP or any other cryptocurrency is
yeah,
security or not.
yeah, I agree completely. I think I think it's absurd. It's impossible to solve these issues with tools from almost a century ago.
100%. I mean, it's a paradigm shift that's happening, and that paradigm shift first and foremost needs to happen in people's minds. And bureaucrats are the last people who shift in terms of paradigm.
Yeah,
So we have a lot of work to do
I
to
think
educate and to invite regulators, I think.
I think it's even more than that. It's just evolving way faster than they're able to cope with it. I mean, I think they can play catch up with the world in I don't know, let's say a decade delay. But in DeFi, every day there's a new model. Like, how can they catch up with it? It's literally impossible for them.
And that's an interesting part, catching up. Okay, well, Eric Voorhees, who we all know of Shapeshift, he has a very interesting idea of decentralizing Shapeshift by keeping all the time one step ahead of regulators. And I think it's only possible within DeFi. How do you view that?
I think he's very militant on Twitter. I don't know, which is not the way he
In
acts. Like,
life, I think.
no, I mean, in one-on-one, he's not a militant at all. But I think it's an interesting concept. I think that it's he's writing checks he can't cash over Twitter, and it's been proven before. Like, he went head to head with the SEC, it didn't come out as he was hoping. Um, I get the idealism behind it. I do think that excuse me, that KYC is required for a certain different way, of course. Something that will protect the users, definitely not, enable additional data leaks. But it is important not to enable the bad guys to work freely while you're trying to protect the good guys. So it's I don't know.
Two-edged sword.
Yeah,
In the sense that also you like you say, we have to remove bad actors from within the crypto industry for obvious reasons, but also for reputational risk, right? So we want to have a more clean Bitcoin and crypto industry in order to work with, in my opinion, regulators, governments, and in the future bureaucrats, in order to make it a lot more mainstream in order to
yeah.
get over that billion mark, 2 billion mark, three
And
billion
again,
mark.
it doesn't need to be perfect. It doesn't need to, just like somebody said it on the self-driving car. It doesn't need to be perfect, 100% no accidents. It just needs to drive better than you do, and it does that. So crypto is better than regular financial systems. not in every aspect, not always. It's not perfect. You can still commit money laundering through it. Not as easy as $100 bill, though. So, it's already better.
Indeed, and I think that's funny how the irony of not criticizing big banks or big companies being fined these
Yeah.
enormous sums for fraud and involvement in different frauds, and instead going after crypto and saying, well, this is a criminal's haven. We're not there anymore. It's a completely different era. But I really appreciate the input and the insight. Let's go over to a few questions. But before we go to a few questions, actually, there is a fantastic sector of our industry that's booming right now, and that's NFTs. And we're building our own Klever NFT multi-chain marketplace, and it's a fascinating approach to digital ownership. What is Simplex doing on the NFT side, and what are your plans right now?
So we're working on enabling purchases of NFTs much easily. So two ways. One is the slightly more difficult way, but buy crypto but buy crypto with fiat and fund the NFT with that crypto. But also on a much easier path directly from fiat to NFT. Still working the kinks there. It's not 100% done, but that's going to be, I think, very exciting. I just hope that the NFT boom continues as strong as it is right now. And going forward, I think that NFT is going to be way more interesting. I mean, again, I'm not putting down any current activity, but I think it has a huge potential in other aspects of beyond art and apes and stuff like that.
I think the a lot of people ask me about what I think of these JPEG rocks being sold for $1.3 million and so on,
Yeah.
and I think that the phenomena itself is absolute madness, but it's extremely necessary madness as a first iteration and experiment of digital ownership using cryptocurrencies and using the metadata that you can. In my opinion, of course, we have to solve this problem of having a token and a metadata on a centralized server, but the token itself is decentralized. We need to, of course, be able to have the storage together. But that's,
Yeah.
once
That's
again,
data.
we are only at the first iteration of this experiment. So if um, NFTs do kick off and become the standard for digital ownership in the future, well, those first JPEG rocks might become a lot more valuable in the future as the first kind of art in the space.
Yeah, especially the invisible one. Because you see that when there was like a blank white JPEG that was a invisible rock.
Listen, it's art. You can do whatever you want, right?
Again, if somebody's willing to pay for it, something, I'm guessing it's worth it for him at least.
The market is always right, someone told me.
Yeah.
Great. Well, let's go over to some questions from our community, and you can continue posting, guys. We have a few minutes left. We have a question here. How do you ensure we are getting a competitive rate using Simplex?
We are constantly battling to reduce the fees. It's still very high, mostly because still Visa and Mastercard are taking the large most of it. Because crypto is still something that's considered high risk for them, they are still charging a lot of money on it. It's not something that will be reduced one shiny morning. It's a process. It's when we started with paying ourselves over 6% to the processing company. It's going down gradually. The more acquiring companies are open to it. In most places, they're still not open to it. For example, in the US, it's still extremely difficult to do domestic acquiring, meaning that the acquiring bank is in the US, meaning that the interchange fees are lower. So the large most of the transactions in general are being processed in Europe, which means it's a cross-border transaction, hence much more expensive.
Great. Thank you. Speaking of then, you're talking about credit cards. The next question is actually about this new banking features. Will the banking transfer fee of transactions be cheaper than the current credit card
Yeah,
or debit
absolutely.
card buying options?
Absolutely. So even today, you're able to open a bank account with Simplex from anywhere except the US. Open a bank account and wire money in, buy crypto, sell crypto, wire money out. That's already working completely. If I remember correctly, the buy and sell rate through the banking solution is around 1%.
Yeah, that's a hell of a lot better than
Yeah,
than
and we're not taking any additional markup on the transaction itself. So Swift is usually like 50 to $100. SEPA is dirt cheap. It's like cents.
hmm. Uh, so the next question is actually a little bit more about online banking systems. Someone asks, when will we be able to purchase crypto through Simplex using our own bank account online? So not wire transfer, but an online payment like Ideal, Bank Contact, SoFort Banking, or GiroPay.
So we're adding all of the payment methods provided by Nuvei that support crypto. So it's going to be in the next quarter, I assume.
Great, great. And now the next question is a little bit more on the serious note. What is the cute unicorn's name?
I think his name is Fantasia. I can check just a second. They have a name tag. Yeah. My name is Fantasia.
Fantasia. What a perfect name for you know for a unicorn sitting in Simplex's offices. That's fantastic. Well, Nimrod, before we end, do want to hear a little bit more about your current state of the market and the current state of what you're doing in Simplex and your future plans. What are you most excited about? What's happening in the space right now?
I always have the same boring answer. I'm excited about everything in this market. Everything is crazy and super interesting. I'm excited about how DeFi is evolving. I'm excited about NFTs and how I don't understand anything going on there. Um, Excited about new companies popping up everywhere. Mainstream adoption, big banks getting involved, big brands getting involved. Burger King starting to give away crypto as the kids' prizes for lunch, stuff like that. It's crazy. I mean, there's nothing I'm not excited about. So yeah, that's about the market right now. But again, it could all subside, and then everything is boring and gray, and we need to fight through another winter. Which again, we proved that at the end of every winter there is a summer, so that should be fine as well. Not really worried about it. With regards to Simplex, I think that the key is more and everywhere. So more cryptocurrencies, more fiat currencies, more users, more payment methods, um, more options in the banking side, in the payment size. We started issuing debit cards to users, so to partners users. So global coverage of that, more features on the cards themselves, everything more and happier.
The more the merrier. I
Yeah.
love you. I love how you guys just keep on pushing features over the years that we've been working together, and it's truly one of the most budding and fruitful partnerships we've ever engaged with. So, thank you very much, Nimrod, for joining us, and thank you all out there for joining us. Whether you came from Asia, Africa, South America, Europe, or North America. It's always a pleasure to have you here. And remember, until next time, stay hungry and be clever.